Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to Queen Consolidated, a Southgate Media Group podcast dedicated to the hit CW show Arrow, starring Stephen Amell and David Ramsey. We're doing an abbreviated podcast this week because we are doing a panel, and I will let Kelly give you a little information about that.
Hey, if you are going to Wizard World in Indianapolis, Indiana this weekend, Lilith and I will be there. We'll be walking around Saturday, and we have a panel on Sunday from 12 to 12:45 called Geek My Kid, Building the Perfect Geek in room 134. And we'll be talking about introducing kids to geek culture, books, movies, comics, TV, audiobooks, the works. So come join us.
Definitely. We're going to have a hoot and a half, but that means, like I said, we have to have an abbreviated podcast so that I can have this edited and up by Friday afternoon so we can be carefree and full of giggles come Saturday and Sunday. Kelly's going to hit you with the synopsis, then we're going to jump into all the technical stuff and episode awards and listener feedback. So, nothing to it but to do it.
Alrighty. Well, Vertigo returns and pits Canary against Black Canary. Oliver is thrown by the changes within Team Arrow. He's used to calling the shots, but sees the team has evolved in his absence and tensions quickly escalate in the lair. Oliver's furious that Laurel has been going out as the Black Canary and tells her to stop risking her life. But when Vertigo hits the street again, Laurel goes against Oliver's wishes and tracks down Vertigo, who hits her with a full dose of the drug. Laurel's biggest fears revolve around her sister, so the Vertigo causes her to hallucinate an epic fight between Canary and Black Canary. Meanwhile, Chase surprises Thea, and Roy warns Thea to stay away from Malcolm Merlin.
So, let's just get the cat out of the bag. If you listen to Flashpoint, then you know that we actually preferred Arrow this week over The Flash. Yes, both Kelly and I agreed that Arrow was better than The Flash. I'll give you a second to process.
This reminded me of why I fell in love with the show in the first place. Yes, a million times yes. As a matter of fact, I was like, you can just send everybody else home and let Jake Colburn and Amelia Ortega-Aldrich just do this from here on out. No offense to anybody else. I mean, everybody else has other projects and stuff going on. Let these, literally probably almost like 80% of the writing staff are involved in other projects in the DC TVU. Just let these two do their damn thing, and I was really impressed. And it hasn't been, you guys know, it hasn't been happening that often for me. I was like, wow. Everything came together in this episode, from the technical stuff of the script and the director, who was Michael Schultz, and the use of the guest stars. Katie Lutz returns as Sarah Lance / the Canary. We had, of course, My Face, Cynthia Adia Robinson as Amanda Waller, Carl Eunice Masao Yamashiro, Austin Butler as Chase, who got his comeuppance for betraying my sweet precious Thea, and Peter Stomari, Stomari? Yeah, I'm gonna go with Stomari, as Warner Zeidel, aka Vertigo. So, I thought we had a pretty awesome guest star cast. Very awesome.
If I had to put my finger on a theme, the truth can't be hidden for long.
The truth will set you free.
All of the above. This is the episode that I've been waiting for. You know, all the little things that annoyed me. Laurel not realizing that she doesn't have to be like Sarah. Laurel actually finally being honest with Quentin. The team really just getting a backbone and giving it to Oliver. Just everything I could hope for.
Oliver finally getting some joy at being able to share with Thea.
That was the unexpected part of the episode for me. You know, with the billing as the Canaries and this whole hype about the return of Vertigo and Laurel having to face off with that hallucination of Sarah, you know, I was not expecting, especially as quick as it happened in this episode, I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, and the reaction. I mean...
Because they've been building it up in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
I was glad Diggle was wrong on that one.
And I'm going to love to see him eat crow when Oliver tells him.
The fact that Thea can finally see Malcolm for who he is, and goodness knows when they tell her that she's the one that killed Sarah, how that's going to go down. She might be the one to kill Malcolm.
Yeah, she very well might.
I think her and Laurel should team up. I think that would be apropos.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm interested to see how that all plays out. Definitely. Let's talk about the villain of the week, I guess. I mean, he wasn't even the villain, like I said in my review for Voice of TV. He was a plot device.
Right.
And I was actually okay with it.
Even though you'd think it would be the other way around.
Yeah. But even, like, if he was supposed to be, like, an actual villain, like, I personally think that Malcolm was the villain of this episode. But, like, if Vertigo is supposed to be the actual villain of this episode, I don't even care. It's back to season 1, weak villain, shady, shabby, motivations, whatever. It is what it is. Got us to a point where we needed to be. How mad can I be?
There was just too much else going on in this episode that needed to happen.
Yeah. You know what? We almost could have had this episode without a villain. Like, Laurel, like, listen, she goes to the container and accidentally steps on a vertigo needle and has a hallucination. Like, I feel like we could have just not even had him and had that go down. Like, think about it. Because that's essentially all he did was stick her with the needle. The episode actually could have done without it. And usually, Arrow needs his villain, even as loosely connected as the villain is to the storyline, really. Just to provide the action, honestly, most of the time. I like the flashbacks, too.
Oh, yeah.
That in flashbacks. Now, for those of you who have followed me from Arrowcast to this podcast, recall a conversation Dawn and I were having way back in season 1 was like, oh no, he came back to Solomon City. Sure enough, one of those crazy, lunatic things you guys thought I was just barking mad about comes to fruition yet again. I was like, yes, I feel vindicated. What did you think about the flashbacks?
I enjoyed them too. Bond between Oliver and Maceo. He knew Oliver was going to have to tell her, but he didn't want him to be alone. He wanted to be able to rescue him or, you know, help him in some way. And I thought that was really cool.
I'll just talk about Team Arrow. I was proud of them. I really saw everybody's point of view. I like how Diggles kind of shifted to the mediator and not just the angry guy telling Oliver he's stupid. Like, he's on Oliver's side more than anybody else in the Arrow camp at this point.
He's more back to the way he used to be.
And I'm okay with that. I'm here for the quick romance. Sorry. I am. I've been here for it since the day Diggle found out. Mm-hmm. And I've always been, I make no secret about it, I've always been a little perturbed with Felicity for taking Diggle's shine. And if this is the way to set up the Quiggle, bring back the Quiggle bromance, I can suck it up, even though I don't feel like that's where Diggle's head would actually be.
I don't know. You know, you think about somebody who's been in the military and their leadership skills and what they learn. I kind of think Diggle adapts to what's needed in the team.
I'm still a little perturbed with Felicity because she's being very passive-aggressive, but I totally loved her saying, no, this needs to happen. Look.
Yes.
She broke it down, okay? I mean, I almost wanted her to leave with her pinky and poke him in the chest with it. Like, look, mister. She was about 2 seconds from doing it, by the way. I don't know. I'm frustrated with Felicity because it's this wishy-washy back and forthness of it all. And also, they cut out the Ray Palmer parts of this episode. They might have just got the promotional pictures mixed up, but it seems like there was a few things kind of left on the cutting room floor, and I'm wondering, because they have to set that up pretty quickly about them needing to go to Central City. Who, I'm telling you, Roy gets fired up for Thea, and I'm here for it, but he's so easily swayed. Do you know what I mean? That it's endearing and infuriating at the same time.
Yes. He's young.
Yeah, I mean, older than Thea by 4 years. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he just...
22 when she just turned 18, so, I mean... Oliver had a moment with everybody, well, except for Quentin. And I like that. We haven't seen that in a while. Oliver still, I don't know, like, I'm starting to feel emotionally disconnected from him. Again, and the best thing about him is Thea still. So I feel like we're kind of devolving. He's lost.
He's really struggling right now because he doesn't know. I mean, he was gone, and everybody's changed, and, he came back expecting everything to be the same, and it's not. And how do you deal with that?
But the kicker of it all is that it probably would have been the same had he not made this choice to work with Alpha Merlin to defeat Ra's al Ghul. You never know with Arrow, though, honestly. But honestly, that's what I feel like. Everything could have been the same had he not made this decision. And maybe it wasn't Felicity that he values the most. Maybe it is Team Arrow. To defeat Ra's al Ghul, he has to have that distance between his team.
That's an interesting thought, though. What if Malcolm is working with Ra's?
I say, he's a backstabbing, double-dealing son of a gun. Anything is actually possible.
That could get really, really interesting.
Because think about it. At the end of this episode, he has Thea and Oliver isolated at Lian Yu.
Mm-hmm. And we know there are certain people there.
So, I don't know. Like, that's the thing with Malcolm. He's the wild card. That's something that annoys me with this show is, like I say all the time, everything that Oliver's ever done literally comes back to bite him in the butt. Without question.
Yes, it does.
And he's always, and for Amanda, he's always a man with a certain set of skills. And I'm like, really? He just looks like a frat boy with having a bad hair day to me, but whatever. Whatever. The struggle wig did look a little bit better this week, though.
Well, and think about how much work he had to do for this episode with all the parkour.
Dude, Colton is so much better at parkour than
yeah.
Which is weird, but, like, he seemed a little off in the beginning, and I don't know if it might have been that injury or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I caught it because he was a little slower, and I don't know if they were just saying that he was rusty because he was mostly dead for a while. They didn't make a big deal about it, but I noticed it, how much quicker Roy was than he was. I don't know if that's a thing, if this is gonna him being, getting over that, if that's gonna have side effects.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Right?
You would think.
Now we're gonna move to Laurel. I thought that this episode did a fantastic job for Laurel. I didn't have one moment in here where I thought Laurel was shown in a bad light, which is a miracle.
No whiny Laurel. Yay.
I didn't hear a lot of, it's Laurel's on my Twitter timeline. So literally, every time, no matter what she was doing, Laurel. But then again, Hallucination Sarah was really being a witch to her. And I think a lot of people enjoyed it. I think the writers had her say a lot of things that the fans have said about the character of Laurel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this cathartic release watching it for a lot of them. And her beating Laurel down. No, seriously. She said some really, whoa things. That I was like, I would have never written this because that is a touchy subject in the fandom. For a lot of Lance / Katie Cassidy fans. Like she says, I didn't have to die. Why are you trying to be me?
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, damn. Y'all just all in. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, they really went at it.
I was shocked. I think that was probably my biggest shock that they actually had Sarah say that. Because it wasn't Laurel's fault that she died. It wasn't Laurel's, the first or second time. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know why she felt so guilty.
Well, because I think she thought it should have been her on the boat and not her sister. And then her sister wouldn't have died the first time. And the second time, I think she thought that, she knew her sister was out there doing this stuff. But maybe she didn't stop her. Maybe that was the thing that paralyzed her. You know what I mean? At that time, she was at a pretty low point in her life, too. And they fought. And, She has a lot of guilt.
If I put myself in Laurel's shoes, I wouldn't talk to a single soul except for Thea on this and Roy and my dad on this show. Screw everybody else because they just threw her to the side. I wouldn't, if I was Laurel, me personally, going through the stuff that she went through, I would not feel guilty about a single damn thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. That's just me. I've been the champion of Laurel. Even though she annoyed me, the writers I felt really did this character a disservice. I was here for Laurel. I understood. And I still hate every second that Laurel and Oliver spend on screen together. Specifically in this episode, he put his hands on her, I mean, like, real tight and snatched her. Oh, it ticked me off.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that she actually stood up for herself and set him straight and said, hold on, I know it. You ain't talking about somebody hiding behind a mask.
That's right.
Oh, Laurel gave it to Oliver finally, and I'm just so, like, yes, I'm here for it. And I do want them to spend time apart. I want her to be out with Roy and Thea, or maybe even just, like, Laurel and Diggle go on a mission together.
That would be cool.
Like, I can't stand that relationship anymore. It's so tainted and so gross. He never apologized to her for the dinner, for saying all that other stuff he said to her in the hallway, treating her like crap. You know, I will never forgive Oliver until he apologized to Laurel for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a Laurel fan. I don't know how, like, I'm a stan. I'm a Katie Cassie stan. I'm transparent about that, guys. You guys know that. But you have had a hard time connecting to Laurel, so how do you feel about it?
I really thought she did well in this episode. I loved how she was strong and she did stand up for herself, and she really tried to face up to her fears. You know, that's what Vertigo does, is it plays on your fears, on your biggest fears. And that she was strong enough to face them and fight back.
The second dose, though, where it's her dad, like, that's the only thing that I would feel guilty about if I was Laurel. I'll take it back. Not telling my dad the truth the instant it freaking happened.
Yeah, that was not good.
Guilty about. It is wrong. That is his daughter. He does deserve to know. Like we've been saying this whole damn time.
Yes, and, you know, he deserved to be able to grieve with her.
And I'm glad that he took, like, see, this was another surprise that Quentin took it the way that he took it. And I feel like they can take this step of healing and grieving together. Because for a while, Laurel and Quentin were, like, the best thing about the show. Like, I was here for the Lance family. I thought the Queen family was just in the toilet. And then the Lance family comes in and they start to grow together. And the scenes between Paul and Katie were amazing. And I've been missing it so much this season.
Yes.
That's where the emotional pathos really for this show lives and breathes, because everybody else's relationships are so fractured and filled with drama, where you can actually just kind of hone in on the simple love of a father and daughter without, like, gross sexual tension, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I think we've actually seen that now with Oliver and Thea. Now that they have this common ground, you know, their relationship actually works.
Like I told you, Thea is the best thing about Oliver. Always has been, always will be.
Yes.
But Quentin was like, so when he figured that it was Laurel running around in the black leather, he was like, I'm pissed, but hey, you're still living, you're still breathing. If you are working through something, let's talk. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, I was not expecting that reaction. I thought he was going to be like, bend her over, spank her, and ground her.
You know what else we haven't talked about?
Oh, okay.
Because those are huge in this episode.
Oh my god, the music. Blake nearly put his foot in it this week, okay? From opening to close, I was in love with the score.
Yes. I want all of it on the soundtrack.
Now, there was one song that particularly caught your eye. Oh, well, your ear.
My ear, yeah. I loved the music during the staircase parkour fight scene.
At the beginning?
It was, yes, fantastic. And it was so fun because it is something we've heard many, many, many times before. But, of course, accented on a different beat, so it feels completely different. It was just a lot of fun.
I think my favorite scoring moment had to be when Laurel was triumphant and she was just pummeling the crap out of Vertigo.
Yes.
I tend to like the fight scene music a lot because it's frenetic and it's like, I was like, oh, I can see myself working out to this. I live for workout music. And I was like, oh, I can remix this into the perfect electronic dance music because I'm a DJ. So I always kind of like that. But I also like the soft, simpler sides of things and the emotional moments. Like it was very subtle at the end of this episode when they were pulling back from Laurel and Quentin hugging each other and crying.
Yes. Rolls right into the cinematography.
Michael Schultz, like this, is like his 6th time directing an episode of Arrow, and it shows. His first episode back in season 1 it was a little rough around the edges, but it does happen to be one of my all-time favorite episodes, Damaged. But he's matured so much as a director in this short amount of time. And this is like the pinnacle.
This was gorgeous. The shot of them jumping out with the explosion and then seeing Vertigo looking through the mirror. Oh my goodness. Oh, it was epic.
I like the opening tracking shot too, though, where they're on the rooftop.
Yes.
It's been a while since we actually opened with like an actual tracking shot. Like usually it's just jump cuts.
Yes.
Fond of tracking shots. I like that for action scenes. It's like it makes you feel like you're there, you're panning and taking in the surroundings. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and it's something different that we don't see very often.
But my favorite had to be the way that he captured Oliver and Thea in the mid-shot frames. It made you feel like you were like a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
And then he kind of did the same thing when he was having that conversation with Diggle upstairs at Verdant.
Uh-huh.
Kind of just pans in just ever so subtly, and you kind of see the focus shift as each one talks a little bit, but just very subtly, not to distract you. I like how he captured that conversation because the end of that conversation, Diggle goes, is that something you can live with? And he kind of just leaves it hanging in the air and slowly pans out because that's a good freaking question. And I think that should be the question of the rest of this season. So I definitely, like, those specific things really stuck out in my head. I can't believe I actually wrote the review. This episode was so memorable that I was actually able to write the review on the first watch while I was live tweeting, no less. Like, everything that goodness. I wanted to say, I remembered every single thing without having to go back and rewatch. And then I rewatched it before we started podcasting. And it stands out in my mind so perfectly. And I think that's what a really good episode of a TV show does. You just remember those moments and those lines and those scenes so vividly.
This episode felt so immersive.
You were also emotionally connected to everything that was going on as well, though. It's unusual for Arrow.
Very unusual.
And I don't know if that's, like, this is the thing about Arrow. Like, I never know the tone, how serious they want me to take the show. Do they just want me to forget about things that happened last week and just focus on this week? Are we supposed to be cold and distant and emotionally detached like Oliver seems to be for the first 2 seasons? I don't know.
Yeah, well, hopefully with Thea now in the know, it will become a little warmer.
Yeah.
Because she's just that kind of person.
Thea is the best character on this show and nobody deserves her. She needs to move to Central City and Barry and Joe adopt her. Okay, Mary Jo and Iris need to adopt her and love her and hug her and take her shopping and feed her chocolate. So let's get into the episode award, the grade.
I give this episode an A. I can't believe it. I was tickled pink. Is there room for improvement? A little bit, but not a whole lot. This was really, really good.
So I concur with you, but it is an A-, but it's still an A+. Like I said, I was just, my expectations were low, it's true, but this blew my mind. Like, it started strong, it finished strong, it was coherent, the transitions were amazing, and I'm going to tell you that I really think that Emilio Ortega-Aldrich was the winning factor in this. He worked on the tie-in comic books, the first set, that was just Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked as an assistant with on a lot of stuff. So it was just like he gets it. He gets the backstory of all of this, and so it wasn't like he was just some new writer off the street.
Yeah.
He knew the backstory, and if you guys don't read that first set of Arrow tie-in comic books,
you're crazy.
It's not that you're crazy, it's that you are definitely missing out on a lot of backstory. Let's talk about the scene of the night.
Oh my goodness, yeah. For me, it was Oliver and Thea at her apartment, and, well, actually, I would say down at Verdant, actually, when he tells her, and she finally, I mean, you could tell he's just really waiting to see what her reaction's gonna be because he's terrified. And she walks up and she hugs him, and just that smile on his face, just that joy. Seeing, I'm not going to lose my sister, and she understands, and she's happy. That was just, oh my goodness, my heart melted.
That was definitely my number one favorite scene. And then my second favorite scene, because, I always look for a little bit of humor, is when he comes home, and she's like, I got insomnia because my brother's a vigilante. And she's like, you smell like smoke. What is that, Korean barbecue? He's like, no, C4.
Yeah, exactly. It was just so neat being able to see the two of them talk about stuff.
The third one, of course, is the scene where Felicity outlines the difference between Laurel and Sarah, and they share that wonderful moment that passes the Bechdel test. Oh, thank God. Arrow has not passed the Bechdel test in a long, long time. Felicity being nice to Laurel will help the character of Laurel's reception in the family. So yeah, I have ulterior motives. Favorite line? So many to choose from for a change.
I can't think of the line right now because there were tears coming down my face at the time. but when Laurel finally came clean to Quentin, I cried. I was so relieved because that had bothered me so much. Oh my goodness. You can't do that to your dad, You just can't. And the fact that Quentin was so gracious, and he could have been really, really mad. And just the whole interaction between them was really touching to me.
I think my top one, I'm going to go with the conversation between Diggle and Oliver. And it's the last line. Diggle, what I know, Oliver, is that you started something strong enough to live on past. Question is, can you live with what it's become? I absolutely love that.
Diggle, man of action and wisdom.
Most of the time. There's times where I was like, I don't know, son. And I also really liked Felicity's little mini soliloquy to Laurel. Laurel's like, I was crazy to think that I was fit to wear Sarah's jacket so much as follow in her footsteps. You're right. I hope I'm not out of line here. And I'm like, really, Felicity? Really? All the time to say this line. This is how you decide, but I digress. But I think Sarah wore her mask just as much to hide her demons as she did to help people. I don't see that with you. You have a light inside you that Sarah never had. So maybe you should stop trying to be Sarah and just be yourself. And then Laurel says, thank you. But I was like, dude, isn't this the same? This is the only thing that I have a gripe with. Isn't this basically the same conversation she had with her in the police station?
Very similar.
That most memorable moment?
Definitely that hug with Thea and Oliver, for me.
Character.
For me, it's Thea. I mean, with Laurel, a very close second. But for me, it's Thea.
Yeah, for me, it's Laurel. God, it feels good to say that. And mean it. This is a miracle of an episode, let me tell you. Miracle on 52nd Street, people. So, best character interactions. I know you got me covered on this, so I'll just let you go.
Oliver and Thea. Interactions. Felicity and Laurel. Thea and Roy. And Quentin and Laurel.
Yep, you nailed 3 out of 4 in the bag. You know how I feel about Roy being led around the nose by Thea. So that brings us to theories and predictions. My mind's so blown I can't even form a conspiracy theory. I had really good conspiracy theories last week though, guys. So
yes, she did.
What's the end game of the season? Like what's gonna be? Who's gonna attack the city at the end of the season?
Oh, that's a good question.
I feel like dealing with League of Assassins before we almost have to be dealing with League of Assassins before that final 3-4 episode arc. So those are the main things that I want to talk about for Arrow. You guys can tweet to us or live tweet with the podcast every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. QC_SMG pod. Our email is queenconsolidated.smg@gmail.com. The first 10 people to send in their thoughts about an episode every week win the current monthly title and the current bi-weekly issue of the Arrow Season 2.5 tie-in comic book, and the first 3 people to tweet, what should they tweet to us for Arrow?
Thea finally knows.
Oh my god, yes. For this week, the first 3 people to tweet at QMC_SMG pod, hashtag Thea knows, will win a digital copy of Arrow Season 2.5, issue 12. Woo-hoo. So yeah, I got our little bit of shameless plugs out of the way as well for the podcast. So that brings us to our own personal shameless plugs.
Well, you can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, talking about all things geek at SuperSquint. That's SuperSquint. You can also read my reviews on voiceoftv.com. And I also co-host another Southgate Media podcast, Before the Bat, with Tyler and Phil, as well as Flashpoint with Miss Lilith.
Of course. As for me, I'm at Lilith Hellfire on Twitter, at Lilith Hellfire86 on Instagram, LilithFairy.Hellfire up. And please be sure to support my new blog, littlepopculturevulture.blogspot.com. It is a safe haven for comic book geeks and pop culture junkies. I do tons of books. I'll let you know new releases for comic books in general, especially serialized books. Music and book reviews coming soon, but I do review mostly everything in the DC TVU. I do episode previews and stuff like that. So I'll be doing Marvel probably in the next couple of weeks when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back, because I believe Agent Carter's still on right now, right? Yeah. So when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back, we'll be having episode previews for that. And I'm reviewing Constantine number 22 and Clarion number 5 for DC. And this week for Marvel is Captain America, Fear Him. All new Captain America, Fear Him number 1. It's the one where Falcon finally takes over for Captain America. So be sure to check that out. Just one more quick thing. I know I hate to plug this. We say it time and time again. But if you guys could please take the time to rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Help us climb the charts to help other fans find us. We would greatly appreciate it. I'd love to read your review here on the podcast.
And make sure you download.
Because streaming doesn't matter. That's just about all the time we have this week. We hope you enjoyed our little discussion of episode 313 Canaries. So, unless you're stuck on a hellish island between now and next week, be sure to tune in.
Queen Consolidated, signing off.